Avatar: The Last Airbender was a pretty interesting experience. It's something that I wasn't necessarily sure that I would like, but from the trailers, I was kind of on board. But it does go against something that I've held as a belief for a long time, which has been a little bit disproven. I don't want to say that it's completely disproven, but we're baby steps, right? Taking anime and animated series and making them into live action just does not work, right? I know that there are some people who still feel that way, but when I saw the One Piece show, I was really impressed by the way that they translated that anime. I thought that it did a really good job of making that anime accessible in live action form, and I can say that because I've never really watched the anime.
Fool this man!
I think I've watched maybe, I want to say 20 episodes. It's not something that I'm an expert on, but as far as, let me make it plain. The way I judge these shows when they translate from animation to live action is, would I enjoy this show if I wasn't aware of the animated iteration of it and was able to fill in the blanks, right? With One Piece, because I had never seen the show, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And some of you might say, well, since you've seen the show, that's why you enjoy it. Maybe that's the case. But if the show was good enough to get me, who knows nothing about it, on board, then it's a good show. Now, in terms of Avatar, having seen all of Avatar, having enjoyed all of Avatar, is one of my very favorite. It's one of my favorite. It's top 5 dead or alive. It's one of my favorite experiences in terms of watching an animated series. I think that this show is hit or miss into whether or not I would have kept watching it if I was not already a fan of the animated series. I think this show gained an extra leash, an extra long leash for me because of my prior experiences with the animated series, right? Do I think that that means that this show is god awful? No. I just don't know if it was necessarily something I was like enamored with. Let's talk about some of those different parts of the show that I did enjoy and some of those parts that I did not enjoy. So let's talk about the good first, the cast. I thought especially on the Fire Nation side, when we talk about Zuko, when we talk about Uncle Iroh, when we talk about Fire Lord Ozai, like when we talk about those 3 specific characters, I thought that they were all super well casted. I felt the wisdom and I felt the pain, oh my God, that leaves from the vine scene, or the funeral scene for Uncle Iroh's son. Like I felt that. Like I was in tears, not like bawling, but I teared up a bit. And especially like the great change from the show when you see Zuko walk up to Iroh and comfort him and do his best to comfort him in that moment where Iroh is just dejected. He's not there, right? I thought those performances were amazing. Fire Lord Ozai, he was intimidating. He felt like someone who you did not want to play with. He also felt really smart, really calculated. You understood his twisted mindset when it came to being tough with his children and tough with other people, and even sacrificing some of his own soldiers in order to advance in different kingdoms, the Earth Kingdom, the Water Kingdom, and all these other kingdoms, right? Fire Lord Ozai was giving me Fire Lord Ozai, Captain Zhao, right? Or General Zhao. One of the 2. He was great. He did the best rendition that he could do of a Zhao that is a snake. He's smarmy. He's kind of like a disgusting person to be around. Like he's the type of person at work that you're just like, they partner me with him. I don't want to be like, all he does is gossip and go behind people's back. And then the lunchroom he comes and he talks to me about Iroh and the type of tea. He's always telling me that Iroh's tea is stale. Like I just stay away from me, right? He is that kind of guy, but he's also super smart. And he's also super cunning, and he also sees everything that's going on, especially as Zuko is trying to like hide. Like Zuko's not a good liar at all, right? So all of that, like I thought Captain Zhao was great. And let me actually say one more thing about Zuko, or say something about Zuko at all. I thought the actor who played Zuko was fantastic. Now, the scar on the side, I thought the makeup department could have did a better job with that and making it a bit uglier. But that's a nitpick. Nitpickalodian. We know that Zuko from the animated show and from this show, as we see further down the line, is a very nuanced character. He's operating out of a place of pain. He really just wants to be loved by his dad, right? But his dad ain't giving him nothing. And when he is trying to stand up from the soldiers in the 71st, I believe it's the 71st, like you can see that he does have a heart in there somewhere. Whatever like evil is in Fire Lord Ozai's heart didn't make it to Zuko's heart. Zuko was born into this situation. He was raised in the Fire Nation. And there's a small tiny bit of empathy there where it's kind of like, well, what the hell is he supposed to do? You know what I mean? You're raised in this kingdom, you're raised to be this way. You're not this way. Your sister is definitely that way. And I'll talk about her in a second. The gentleman who portrayed Prince Zuko here did a really good job portraying the fierceness of him and also the kind of like the conflicted innocence of him. And I think that if we do get a second season, that journey that he goes on, the redemption arc, if you will, I think that that's really going to do well because the actor who's playing him does a really good job playing him, right? Let's talk about Azula. Azula was interesting. I don't think Azula should have been in the first season in general. I think that you could have waited to bring her into the equation. If you've seen the animated show, you know that she's coming, right? I think that you would have done better to spend more time fleshing out Zuko. Not that he wasn't well fleshed out at all. I think the good thing about the first couple seasons before we meet Azula is that we get to know Zuko through those first 2 seasons, and then you find out that he has a sister, and then you find out that she's absolutely crazy. So as the redemption arc is happening for Zuko, the crazy arc and the descent into madness arc is happening for Azula. I think that they could have waited for that. However, I do not think that this actress did a bad job. The same issue that was done here was the same issue that was done with Sabine in the Ahsoka series. The actress played the role that she was hired to play, and she played that role well. The writing for this character and how the character was utilized was not done well. Let's flip it over to our good guys, right? Our heroes. Starting with Aang. Starting with Aang. So basically the actor who plays Aang, I think did similar to what I said about Sabine and what I said about Azula. I thought the actor who played Aang did a good job with the material that he was given. For whatever reason, the writers wanted to make him more serious and less whimsical. I know some people are like, yeah, but Aang, he just wants to go play. And I agree with that. I think that they should have instilled a lot more of that in there. But as the show progresses, it's really taking the fast track. The animated series, I forget how many episodes the first season is. I feel like it's like 24 or something like that. They only got 8 episodes. And you can say to me, and I would not disagree with you, they only have 8 episodes because Netflix only gave them 8 episodes. If you needed more time to flesh them out, let them flesh it out, Netflix. But they seem to be addicted to this 8 episode thing, which honestly is way better than the 6 episode thing that the MCU was doing, because that was crazy. Although Loki did a pretty good job with it. I thought that the actor who played Aang did a really good job. The acrobatics was probably stuntman, did a really good job. I thought that his motions and everything, I thought his sincerity, I thought every time he talked to one of the avatars, and even when he was missing it or he was gaining it a little bit, really is starting to learn how to be the avatar he was supposed to be. I thought that he as an actor handled all those situations well. His scenes with Zuko were handled really well. I saw Aang in this character. As far as Sokka is concerned, I like that actor. I like his portrayal of Sokka. Now there's something that kind of feels like 80% of Sokka in there. He's got the tribe leader thing, he's got the responsibility thing, he's got all of the things, right? All the ingredients that make Sokka Sokka. The one thing that he didn't have enough of is immaturity. I didn't think he was immature enough. And part of that was they stripped out the misogyny part of Sokka, which was a big part of his character growth in the animated series. See, here's the thing, sidebar. When you decide that you want to take away the bad traits of a character because it is something that you wouldn't necessarily morally want to be displayed or be portrayed, I think what you're missing there, specifically, especially with Sokka, is you're missing the human element. Humans do not start off well-informed. They do not start off mature. They do not start off like perfectly fit for the society that you want or hope for. So if you take away our journey with him as he grows, you miss all of that. And all of that is important. It felt like 80 to 85% of Sokka. Aang felt like 80 to 85% of himself. Katara, I thought, was a really good portrayal of Katara, right? Especially towards the end of the show, as she's learning to hone her waterbending skills, and she's challenging the tribal leader who's like, women only heal here, and she wants to be a warrior. Her performance in those scenes, were phenomenal. Actually, I thought that entire episode, that entire sequence was phenomenal. I think that now we can kind of get into some of the negative portrayals of characters. I know I've kind of sprinkled that a little bit in here, but there's one specific character who I absolutely hated in this show, and that is King Boomy. King Boomy in the animated series is just doing the most, right? But King Boomy also has a level of charm to him in the animated series. This King Boomy was charmless. There was no charm. There was no laughing with him. Get this dude out my face. Like, I don't like this human. When it's revealed to Aang that Boomy is who he is, I don't know if I remember this wrong, but in the animated show, it took a while for Aang to pick that out. In this adaptation of the show, he kind of picks up on it immediately. I think that was a mistake. Now, if that's the same way he does it in the show, that's one thing. You take out all the mystery of it, right? If you want to tell this story, especially for new audiences, you want to have those moments. And I thought that King Boomy was just annoying as hell. Now, when we get to the part where they're fighting King Boomy and Aang, I thought that fight was dope. I thought a lot of it was cool. I do have to tell you guys, not only am I annoyed about King Boomy in those 2 episodes, they also take my favorite episode. So this is a personal thing. It's not necessarily a complete show critique. If you are fine with it, I'm fine with you being fine with it, right? The Secret Tunnel episode, that's my favorite episode of the entire series. Secret Tunnel through the mountains. Secret Tunnel means something to me. Like, I actually listened to a Secret Tunnel lo-fi song, which is really interesting because you wouldn't necessarily think that that would be a lo-fi song. But honestly, you could turn anything to lo-fi. I actually put the link in the description. The first mistake they did was they moved it up into season 1, right? It doesn't happen until season 2, episode 2. So it did not need to happen here, right? So why are you pushing up important and good episodes all the way up to the front of the series when you can savor it for the end? I believe that's when Aang and Katara like really solidify, like, hey, girl, I love you. Like, I like you. You know what I'm saying? You be all watery. And she'd be like, Aang, you be all windy. And I feel like the reason they did it is because they weren't sure that they were going to get a season 2, which, you know, it's understandable, but that doesn't mean that you just waste a very important part of the series as a total just in like a 5-second clip, because you can never do Secret Tunnel again. Like, that's over. It's done. I was literally like, I can't wait until season 2 to see Secret Tunnel, and now it's just not happening. Let's get off my soapbox on that. Now, the other parts, I thought the bending was really good. For the most part. I did have some favorites of the elements, and I did have some least favorites of the elements. So let's get to that. I thought the fire bending was the best representation of bending in this show. When Zuko and Iroh are escaping from those soldiers, I thought that was really good. When the firebenders were fighting each other, I thought it was really good. It didn't feel cheap, and I appreciated that. Water bending could have used a little bit of work. The reason why I don't have a huge problem with it, all those people were generally untrained, especially our main character, Katara. Like, she's just not trained. Like, you know, she's trying to teach herself off the scroll, so I don't expect her to be super expert level, right? It wasn't as intimidating as I would have liked it to be. Airbending. I thought the airbending was also really good. That opening scene at the Air Temple, when the Fire Nation attacks during Sozin's Comet, they didn't put out a good showing because they got annihilated, but I thought that the way that it was portrayed in the show was really good. The one bending I thought that was the weakest was the earth bending. A lot of stuff just ended up being boulders and sometimes a wall. You can do better than this. So overall, the show is good. It's not great. It's also not terrible. It's just solid. And I think that that's an important distinction. Too many times we fall into this rating system of classic or trash, and there's no in between, right? If it's not classic, it shouldn't exist. If it's trash, it should have never been tried. I don't agree with that. Try stuff. It might work. With that being said, my rating for this season of Avatar, season 1, hopefully there's a season 2, 3 sparks out of 5. Good. A lot of good performances, a lot of good bending, some really good storytelling. I didn't even mention, one of my favorite conversations in this show is the conversation between Uncle Iroh and that Earth Nation soldier, where he's talking about what he did to Ba Sing Se, the Dragon of the West, and how much he hated Iroh. And that entire sequence was really well done. You know, Uncle Iroh is a different person, but that don't mean you get to run away from consequences, right? All the time. You know what I mean? Somebody's going to run up on you. As much as we feel for Iroh, him singing Leaves from the Vine for Lu Ten, There's 1,000 more versions of that in Ba Sing Se. We can't lose sight of that. Like, people are going to be upset with Uncle Iroh forever. And I think that that's the beautiful part about that character too, is the dichotomy there. We love Iroh because we see the complexity of his character, but that nigga should be in jail. But anyway, those are my thoughts on Avatar: The Last Airbender. Let me know what you thought of the series in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys next time.